This is the Colonials football pregame show, exclusively on CITV. And now, here's your host, Haiden Haley.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Colonials football pregame show, Season 2. As always, I'm Haiden Haley, and right next to me is my co-host for the day, Reed Stern. And it's been an exciting first couple of weeks, well, for almost first half of the season of this new-look Colonials football team. But right now, we just had breaking news of NBA basketball trade involving Damian Lillard going to the Milwaukee Bucks. So, Reed, can you give us a little more on that?
Yeah, it was a groundbreaking trade today. We knew that Damian Lillard wanted to be traded for a while. And I have full details on what the trade involves. So the Bucks have received Damian Lillard. The Blazers have received Drew Holiday, DeAndre Aiden, a 2029 first-round pick, and 2 pick swaps. The Suns get Joseph Nurkic.
Yusuf Nurkic, yeah.
Yeah, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson. This is it's a huge trade in the NBA world, and I think it's going to make the Milwaukee Bucks a really, really big contender. The roster is stacked.
Yeah, just real quick on that. I mean, so they still have Chris Middleton, it seems like, who's been inconsistent with injury. But the thing is, Damian Lillard is 31, and Drew Holiday is 33. So I think that was kind of a liability for them. However, Drew Holiday is a really great defensive asset for any team that he's on. So just Damian Lillard making this Bucks team a lot more dangerous with shooting. It's now making me wonder, like, now the defense is all on Giannis when he kind of had perimeter help with Drew Holiday. Do you have anything on that? Like, I think that kind of almost makes the Bucks a little worse because they had shooting before. Well, so Damian Lillard getting out of Portland, he's happy for that, as both 2 Sixers fans in the booth can't be happy about that.
No, I mean, it's definitely the Bucks are definitely a threat to the Sixers, and
yeah,
Jimmy Butler's claiming that there's
tampering. Yahoo Sports just said he's looking at tampering, and Jimmy's usually an honest guy, so I'd probably take whatever he says to the bank with that. But he kind of, I don't know about you, but I was just kind of thinking about the Sixers, like, with the Harden stuff. James Harden's an excellent basketball player. He's going to do whatever he wants. But, maybe the Sixers will be 3 or 4, maybe a 2 seed if they're lucky. But now you're just thinking, like, Boston's going to be good. Milwaukee's going to be good. Miami's going to be good. So where does that Philly team fall? We'll just have to find out. I believe season kickoff is October 19th, 20th, somewhere around there. So stay tuned for that. But real quick, before we get into the Colonials, just great news for the city of Philadelphia. Philadelphia Phillies clinching the 4 seed, clinching a playoff spot, as it may be too, for the second year in a row. This Philadelphia Phillies team, just over the past 4 years, bringing in Bryce Harper, signing JT Realmuto and Rhys Hoskins, who is unfortunately out with the Achilles, to long-term deals, and bringing in guys like Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, and Castellanos to really just add exceptional depth to this already great team. So, Rita, just your thoughts and feelings on that, because I'm giving me literal chills right now, because it's taking me back to last October when they made it all the way to the World Series, and just all that joy for the city.
I'll tell you, Hayden, I love Red October. I love dancing on my own. I love when I saw them, partying after they did it. Honestly, it's a joy to see the Phillies back in the playoffs, but what's even more of a joy is seeing them get that 4 seed, because
Absolutely.
Now you have 3 games coming to Philly with the most passionate fans in the country. Yes, you heard me, the most passionate fans, and it's going to be a rowdy place. I tell you, everybody, you better all show up. It's going to be crazy. We're either going to play the Diamondbacks or the Cubs most likely, but show up. I think this is definitely a winnable series. I think we can definitely make it to the NLDS, where we'll probably play the Dodgers or the Braves. But this is just such a big day for Phillies fans, and I'm just so excited.
That season last year proved you win 1 game on the road, you win the series, and that's exactly what they did. They won that game 1. Well, they won both games in St. Louis, which wasn't too hard. They weren't a very good team, but game 1 in Atlanta, lost game 2, took it home for 3 and 4. In Philadelphia and won the series, and then same thing with the Padres. And they won game 1 of the World Series, but they just couldn't close it out. That Houston team was really good, but it's also good to see that Houston team not good this year, because the it's an NL team's winning the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, obviously, I don't think Houston's as good as last year. They're actually vying to get the 6th seed, so they might barely squeak in the playoffs, or they might barely miss the playoffs. But The one thing I'll say about this Philly team is they have experience. After going to the World Series last year, they're hungry. And hungry dogs, as you know, run faster. And I just think that the Phillies are going to be really, really – they have a chip on their shoulder. They know that the only acceptable answer is winning the World Series. You can't fail. The Phillies know what the stakes are. And hopefully they just show up to play. But the real question for the Phillies will be their bullpen. I think that's going to be tough for them.
Well, to add on to that, they just brought in some great pieces. I know their manager was kind of in a Howie Roseman position, to say the least, where he was maybe looking towards getting the boot if he wasn't, getting his team to win soon. But has really just done a nice job. Bringing in Trey Turner was the blockbuster signing for them, but even adding some great pieces to the bullpen and some coaching staff to just elevate guys like Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola and getting them to where they need to be. So playoffs kick off October 7th. We still got a few more weeks in the regular season, which will be, obviously scrub games because they already clinched not only the playoffs, but the 4 seed. But yeah, and then they just got to take care of business. I really don't think there's anything to really stress much because they were already there. They know what to do. They've beaten any team they play in the playoffs. They have made it a great series in the regular season. The Braves, we obviously know the Braves, you're either going to win by 9 or lose by 9, something like that. The Dodgers, kind of a similar story. I don't really fear the Brewers that much, or, Cubs or Diamondbacks, but we'll see. That's just kind of my last take on that. So unless you have anything else to add, I'd like to move into the Colonials. What do you say?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
So to kind of catch you up and anyone else that hasn't really gotten a chance to see them in full-fledged yet, 3-1 on the season. Can't really be mad at that, especially since there being some pretty big what-ifs with, like I've said in the past, almost an entire offensive and defensive line graduating in last year's class. And, of course, Aiden O'Brien, who was an all-district player, I think even maybe an all-state last year. He was quarterback his junior and senior year, taking us all the way to the third round of the playoffs with 2 heartbreaking losses in those back-to-back seasons, but just some really great football to watch. So 3-1's really good. Anthony Iannozzi in those 4 games, he only played 3 games of those 4 last week, losing his job as QB1 to Caden Lazinski was the backup quarterback. There were some big question marks there with his play style, and to accommodate for that, Chang being the mastermind he is with the playbook, switched the entire offense from Thursday night to Friday night, the Quakertown game to the J.P. McCaskey game, and ditched the triple option read to go to more of a pass-based offense, which fits Lazinski's game incredibly. And if you're wondering where Iannozzi is, he is not left bench. He is, in fact, the new tight end, and I really like that for him, Reed.
No, I absolutely agree. I think Iannozzi's a great tight end, and I think especially for Lazinski, a quarterback, I think Lazinski's very good. I think he's very smart. That's the thing.
Absolutely.
I would say he's not very mobile. I think that, Iannozzi's more mobile, but I think that Lazinski's smart, and he has a lot of potential.
Absolutely. Yeah, only a junior, so pretty young in terms of varsity sports, junior, senior year. The thing, Iannozzi, he can catch the ball and he can run the ball, kind of like a personal story. Remember, I think we played football against him, like some touch football back in middle school, something like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm making something up. Maybe you were there or you weren't. But I just remember watching him just run all over people. His brother's on the team too, and they are just some powerful kids. Something about Caden too is he doesn't play defense. He's only the quarterback. So I think that's a great move because Aiden and Iannozzi both played linebacker and safety occasionally in games, and I think that got them tired. So having a quarterback with a fresh head, being well rested, especially when he's really just going to be handing the ball off or throwing. Now, he can run. He did pick up a couple of first downs for the Colonials with his legs, which is important because you can't just sleep on him. I think that's big for defenses. But point being is he's just going to make the right play. And I think that's the difference between a team that's 3-1 and has a chance to win a very wide open Patriot Conference, which is what we're in, or American. I forget exactly which one it is, compared to a team that's going to win their conference and go far in the playoffs, which is what we want. We want to get out of that third round, Reed.
No, I absolutely agree. I feel like the past 2 seasons we kept getting locked into that, that third round of the playoffs. And listen, that's incredible going to the third round of the playoffs, but we're better than that, and our potential's better, and we have to play like it. I'll tell you this though right now, and we might agree, we might disagree on this, but I think that the game against Quakertown, where they lost 21-0, I think that was kind of telling, because you can't lose to a team like Quakertown. You can't lose to a team like that, especially not scoring any points is very disappointing. It's great. JP McCaskey, they showed out. They won 48-14. The rest of their schedule, it's relatively easy. I mean, Cheltenham's 0-4, so I think that they have to be convincing in their wins. I think they have to just win out and just play like they're supposed to. Get confidence, because in the playoffs they're going to be playing teams that are very good, and it's not about beating the bad guys. You have to be prepared to beat the good teams.
Right. No, I agree with that, and that's kind of where they struggled. They were really good last year. I mean, really good, like putting up 50, 60 points against below 500 teams. But once they played above 500 teams, that you started to see some, flaws, to say the least. They just weren't running the ball as well. They were getting stopped at their line, and they just couldn't get the ball airborne. And, they've always had a great defense. Even that loss 21-0 to Quakertown, they put up a great defensive fight. But the thing is, if you're going to let 21 points go on your team, you have to have a reliable offense to come back and at least get 21 of those back. The defense can't do all the work. You can't expect pick six after pick six, because they're honestly better than that, and they showed that in that McCaskey game. But that's what I saw last year in that Upper Dublin game when they lost, and in that Bayard Rustin game the year before, is the defense did a fine job. They didn't let up crazy amounts of points. They kept it anywhere from 20 to 30 points, which is fine for defense to let up. But the offense didn't do their job. They didn't come back and make up for those points.
And that's exactly it. Giving up 21 points is not the end of the world. That To me, that seems pretty average.
Yeah, very average.
It's very average. I mean, obviously you'd prefer to only give up maybe 2 touchdowns a game, but 3 touchdowns is fine. But when the offense has no response and you're not scoring touchdowns and you're not combating the opposing team scoring, well then,
time for change. Yeah.
It's time for change, and I think that the Colonials realize that, and I think that's the reason kind of why they went with Lazinski, and I think that the kid has, like I said, a lot of potential, and he's learning as a junior. He'll have this season, no matter how the Colonials do, he'll have this season to develop, so that next year he comes in, he's fully prepared. He studied all the plays, he knows what to do.
I mean, here's what I gotta say. Remember watching games in years past when they still had that triple option? And, they'd occasionally get the big run of, 40, 50 yards, but then they'd also get like the loss of like a couple yards, or just stand at the line, and we'd always be in the stands like, throw the ball. Look what happens when you throw the ball. You see what I'm saying? Like, they had so many plays on Friday of just blown coverage where the Colonials would pick up, 40 yards. They had some great touchdown passes. And when you have success doing something like that, especially with only a week to switch it up, I mean, that's got to say a lot about your football team, right?
Oh yeah, it definitely shows the heart of that team and what they're made of, because to switch your entire, to switch your plays and to switch it all around is incredible. How they did that and they turned it around in a week it's incredible.
Absolutely. So now moving on in the show, let's take a little look at Cheltenham, their opponent. Something interesting about Cheltenham is they are a conference opponent, but they're not in the same league anymore. PW is a 5A football program. Cheltenham actually moved up to 6A. So when 5A and 6A teams play, if the 5A team beats the 6A team, they will get more points. And it's actually a point-based system on your rankings in the playoffs. So they beat Cheltenham last year. And in an interview I did with Coach Fry, who's the offensive line coach, last year, he said that was a huge win for them because they blew them out. I think we were actually at that game. They in the rain on a Sunday, blew them out by like 30 points. And when you beat a 6A team by that much and you're a 5A team, he says that's what gave him that 4 seed in that playoffs probably. So looking for a big win here. Big win because it's a 6A opponent, but Cheltenham not playing like a 6A team at all. They are 0-4, ranked second in the conference. The Colonials are actually ranked 3rd, which I think is a disgrace. So I'll just walk you through that schedule real quick. Cheltenham played at Chester on the 31st of August, lost 22-20. So Chester, we played them in the playoffs last year for the second round at Colonials Field and beat them by, I believe it was 35-30. Still a close game. Again, that was an above 500 team. So close game there and a loss. Then to Wilson on the 9th of September, lost by 14 points there. So Perkiomen Valley the week after, losing by 15, 21-12. And Roman Catholic 14-12 just last week, 9-22. So they got the Colonials this week. They're obviously looking for a win. They're always going to be a well-coached team. I know they had a lot of recruits come in last year. I think a bunch of them graduated, but they still have, maybe some inner city kids or kids from out of state coming in to play for Cheltenham, which is, I'll give them their flowers. We're a well-respected football team, but you think the Colonials are just going to maybe be a little bit better, whether you're judging them by their record or just how they've been playing, playing the conference opponent, 6A opponent. I think they need this win to get above the 5 seed for the playoffs, which is obviously what they're thinking about.
Absolutely. Listen, when you're a program like Plymouth White Marsh and you're playing an 0-4 team, especially away, and like you said, they're a 6A school, this is a must-win game. Definitely, this is a must-win game. And listen, the Colonials, I think, are definitely good enough, and they're definitely going to make the playoffs. But we're not just looking to make the playoffs. We're looking to be that team. We're looking to get a high seed. We're looking to have a home playoff game here at Plymouth White Marsh, and I have hope in this team, and like I said, Haiden, I do think that it'll be a tough battle to get where we want to be this season. But I think that people, you have to fight.
Absolutely.
If you know that you're qualified, you have to fight. You can't give up, and you can't throw it under the dust. The first loss was bad, but you gotta recoup from that and just put your foot on the pedal and let's get going.
So something I've been researching about this team is, I think it's actually going to maybe play to the Colonial strengths a little bit. They still got, if you remember my show from last year about Cheltenham, I believe that was actually my first one of the year, so you go check that one out on CITV. They still got that guy, Trey McLeod, who was somewhat of a pest to the Colonials for the past few years. Cheltenham did not have their best game against the Colonials last year in the pouring rain. And they just couldn't. They really had no response. They still got also that free safety, Mikel Smallwood, who you'd expect him to probably be on Nazai Boggs if I'd have to guess. But Nazai, a year older, he moved out of that running back one position now to more of a receiver. So you think he's a little more experienced there. Smallwood with 8.7 tackles per game. Receiving yards, they got this guy, Zaire Williams. I forget if he was on their team last year, but he'll get you about 50 yards a game. And Smallwood, whopping 111 yards per game, Reed. He is going to be a problem for the Colonials if they can't stop the run. He might just be putting touchdowns.
No, I agree 100%. When you're getting that many yards per game, I mean, that's just, especially
through 4 games.
Through 4 games, that's going to be tough to stop. So you have to make sure you're able to cover him very well, so you can't get all those extra yards. And listen, he's going to be good. Yeah, it's going to be tough to stop him. Like we're saying limit. We're not saying, like, I understand he's going to be a threat to the Colonials.
So something that the Colonials should be looking forward to, besides that heavy run defense, is Jonathan Ingram, their quarterback. Only 1 passing touchdown on the season, and 1 receiving touchdown by Michael Dunn. He's a junior receiver, so you'd expect to maybe see that connection come up a little bit. Also, 0 interceptions on the year by Cheltenham. They have not intercepted a pass yet, so you think Lazinski could maybe be a little he could pick his moments with those throws, you think, right?
No, yeah. I mean, he can
target certain DBs and stuff like that.
You can definitely, kind of exploit the cornerbacks if they're not getting any interceptions. Mm-hmm. And like, our receivers are very good. Like you said, Nazai, he's getting, he's got 6 touchdowns over 6 games. So do the math. That's a touchdown per game. So you put him up against that quarterback.
6 touchdowns over 4 games, actually.
Oh, sorry, over 4 games.
Even better.
Even better. But you put Nazai against one of those quarterbacks, and 50-50 matchup, that's Nazai right there. He'll get that. So
yeah, you're thinking Mikel Small would be his matchup. So that would be a good one there, Nazai and Smallwood. Sorry to cut you off there, partner, but just clarifying that up. So, yeah, kind of now getting into almost wrapping up the show. Just what do you think about predictions for this game? I know I'm probably going to go check it out, watch it. Should be a good one. I feel like I got the Colonials coming out on top, but what do you think?
I have Colonials coming out on top, and I'm going to give you a very bold prediction. I have Colonials by 3 touchdowns.
By 3 touchdowns in Cheltenham, too?
In Cheltenham. I'm going big or going home, and the Colonials are more than capable of doing it, and I know they won't disappoint. So
okay. It's just hard to say because, Cheltenham's playing their non-league games as 6A opponents, and they've had a few close losses on the road. So, they're obviously hungry for a win, like we said earlier in the show. Hungry dogs gonna run quicker, right? And they know their conference schedule should be easy. They've done all the hard stuff, right? Cheltenham, because Upper Moreland, Wissahickon, Springfield, all their league games are 5A opponents. Now their toughest 5A opponent is clearly the Colonials and maybe Upper Moreland, but they're kind of struggling too. So I guess my point is that this should be an even game. But, Cheltenham is 0-4 and the Colonials are 3-1. I will take the Colonials on top, but I feel like it's going to maybe come down to a situation where Lazinski works the Colonials down the field into field goal range. Maybe they win by 2 or 3 points. I think it's probably going to be low scoring, especially I think the defenses will be exploited in this one, right? Both Colonials and Cheltenham, because it seems like both defenses have been able to keep teams under, 28 points, under 4 touchdowns. So I got Colonials winning 27-24.
All right.
We'll see about that. Make sure you go check out that game. It'll be in Cheltenham if you're in the area. Also, you probably find it online somewhere. Make sure you check out this show and plenty others on the CITV YouTube channel. Special thanks to all the fantastic cast and crew here in the CITV studio, and Mr. Duncan and Mr. Cahill for making this possible, and of course the people upstairs giving us all the funds for this great club. So from Plymouth White Marsh, Pennsylvania, this is Haiden Haley.
And this is Reed, and thank you so much for listening. And
we'll see you next week. So